So there are a bunch of different common errors that people make. We're going to go through kind of different sections of them. The first one is just in hand position in general, and this is a really common error right here, is putting a severe angle. We want to play perpendicular through the strings like this, but it actually doesn't sound as good, and it's, as we talked about in a previous video, it's not good for the wrist to play like this. We want to play like this right here so that we actually are, if there was a string attached to our fingers, we go through our elbow and we could pull on this string down here and it would actually close the hand like this. So first thing, alignment. Just being in alignment with the elbow so that it's in line. Splayed fingers. And that's when the fingers are separated from each other, and so we're playing like this. It's much better if we're compact, the fingers actually touch each other at the middle knuckle. You can actually do this. Grab your fingers around like this right here, just your I, M, and A finger, and then play with them back and let them rub against each other. You want to feel them rubbing against each other. And so ideally, that's the way we play. They are touching each other. Sometimes one has to go off and do something on its own while the other two are still touching each other. But what a common mistake is having them to where they're actually separated. And this is bad news. There are many reasons that this is bad news. The main of which is that it's like driving a jalopy instead of a beautiful Italian sports car. It doesn't handle as well. It's a little bit janky driving down like a bumpy road instead of very efficient, very, very tight, easier to prep. It's much more precise. So the way to do this, the thing to handle, if this is you can video yourself and check out if you're doing any of these. It's a great idea. But if you actually are splaying your fingers to where your fingers are separated all the time when you're playing like this, the thing to do is to take the pinky and press it into the ring finger. Press all the fingertips together for one thing, but then keep it, you want to exaggerate pressing the fingers together, ultimately, is what we're going to do. It's going to be the bounce. And so I see a lot of people doing this. And it's this deal with the wrist. When we're playing something. There is a very low ceiling on this. Do you know what I mean by low ceiling? It means that you're going to reach the absolute top of your abilities very fast. And then to do anything past that, you're going to have to break through the ceiling, which is a lot of work. And so what we want to do is raise the ceiling so where we can just keep going higher and higher with our technique and with our abilities without having the added goal of having to work through whatever it is that we're doing wrong. So we want to just back it all up, just start all over and go from this. One way to do this is to basically just grab your wrist in hand and force yourself to move without moving the wrist at all. You can also put it against something like the back of the guitar or the side of a desk or table and just start doing your arpeggio patterns that you've been learning in another video, surely, with keeping the wrist and hand in a stable position like this. So you want to be able to move like this instead of having to do this. Oftentimes, just being aware of these things will help you to get past them. So just, if this is you, you may just put a little note somewhere where you can see it that says, steady hand. Ideally, if you're playing, as just an example, I'm just going to do an arpeggio pattern. If you're playing, watch how much my hand is moving, the top of my hand. Not at all. It's just like this. To where the top of the hand, if you put a felt tip marker on it, it's not going to make any lines. It's just going to be one little dot because it's not going anywhere. The fingers are moving within the hand, but the hand itself isn't doing all of this business. This will slow you down massively. Try to play something fast like that, it'll never happen. So keep an eye out for the bounce. If you do have the bounce, there could be some other reasons, which leads to the next one. What is this, number 5? And that is the claw, the grip, or the flick. I call it bicycling, which is this type of thing right here. It's like if you were on a little bicycle with your fingers and you're just going along like this. When we flick at the strings like this, it makes a very thin and not very pretty sound. What we want to do is push through the string and activate it with a push. Much more powerful, much more beautiful. Now, if you're doing this, it means that you are engaging the tip joint way too much. It means that you're actually using the tip joint. Excuse me. And so what you want to practice then, if you're going through these arpeggio patterns, if you're going through my method of right hand stuff here, or the one that I'm presenting anyway, it's not just mine, then one of the things that I very frequently say is keep the tip joints passive. And again, with the tree branch thing, make yourself, if you're doing the claw, if you're gripping like this with your fingers, hooking the string, then what you want to do is to make your tip joint completely passive when you're closing your hand. And so go back to this, like in the other video, the sound of one hand clapping here. And notice that the tip joints are just absolutely passive. If you play through a string, it'll actually collapse on when it goes through it, and that's perfectly fine. Just let it happen. Now, one of the things that happens when we're bicycling, when we're clawing at the strings like this, is that this middle knuckle goes up in space away from the guitar. And so the way that we can check this is bring your left hand around underneath the neck like this right here and touch your knuckles. Touch your middle knuckles lightly with them and then just play through some notes. Now, if you're bicycling at all, then whenever you play the note, it'll bounce against your other hand, your finger, and then come out, or it'll either be even large or small, but it will bounce against before moving away. Now, if you're actually playing this through and you're closing your hand like this, then it will just move directly away. It won't bounce against it at all. It'll just move directly away from it instead of hitting it and then moving away from it like that. It'll just go, move straight away. So that would be the thing to do then. Reach around and touch it and then play that way. So that is the thing to do for the bicycling. This is probably the most common one, and it might be the reason that you are watching this video to begin with is because of bicycling, because it is the most common problem I think that there is. Whenever we first start playing, we think, oh, I want to play the string. That is my goal, is to play the string. And so we find the string and we go, grink, and we hook it. We flick at it like this. And that's a hard habit to break, and that's the self-taught habit. It's most self-taught people play with the hook, and a lot of people do anyway. But the better way is to actually make it to where your hand is closing with every single one and moving, the knuckles move in toward the palm instead of out, and that's a good gauge. So, as a quick review, just to summarize this all up, first off, we have a good alignment. That's the thing we want to do. Just go back to good alignment principles. This is in the foundations and basic concepts video. Go back to that. The next one, I think, was splayed fingers. We want to keep our fingers together when we're playing. We want to not touch the top of the guitar. Keep it floating. That might have been number 2, and then the past one was number 3. Number 4 was the bounce. Keep the bounce to a minimum or none at all. And then the last one was the bicycling, and this is the most pervasive I see. And so the bicycling, and the way that we deal with that is to touch the fingers with the other hand from underneath, play, and it should move directly away from the left hand fingers. So those are some common errors. I hope that you have found something of value in there, something that you can grasp onto and change in your own playing, something that you can maybe keep an eye out for. And I hope that you go forward and practice well and fix it, whatever it is. Okay, see you in the next video. Until then, take care.